Hello everyone, this is Scribe, the raid leader of Method, and today we are going to take a look at which classes are the best ones to play currently in the WoW raiding scene. I'm going to show 2 range and 2 melee classes, and we're going to talk about both the advantages and disadvantages of each class separately. So let's start with it. The number 1 spot right now goes to the Warlocks. As I'm making this video, Demonology is completely overpowered because of the explosive potential trait. This will however get fixed with the next patch next week. But despite that, I think Warlocks are the best class to play right now. They were absolutely essential last year due to their DPS and because of the demonic gateways from Goon. And this year they again were super strong in every DPS scenario. Additionally, since Warlocks are a pure DPS class, they have 3 different specs, and it makes them much unlikelier to become useless compared to a hybrid class. Combined with their amazing utility with gateways and healthstones, they take the number 1 spot. The one thing which they lack as a DPS is an immunity, but lately immunities don't seem as relevant anymore, so that's not a big deal. Another disadvantage may be that a lot of people have leveled a Warlock lately, due to Demonology being so overpowered. So you might have some competition. However, I do think that most of those players will stop playing soon after the nerf and return to their mains. Lastly and obviously, the downside of being a pure DPS class is that you can't play any other roles than DPS, which some people might not like. The number 2 spot is taken by the Shadow Priest. In the last tier, Shadow Priests were quite forgotten and barely anyone played it. Blizzard did reward them for their patience in this current tier by making them the best DPS spec after Demonology Warlock. Quick disclaimer here, of course there are certain situations where other classes are more useful, but we're talking about general usefulness here. Shadow, unlike in previous expansions, has a talent or trait for almost any kind of DPS scenario, and are no longer the pure spread multi-dotting class that they always were. In theory, I should rank Shadow higher than the Warlocks, since after the Demo nerf it will be stronger, but I have a feeling that they will nerf Shadow as they always do, and since they only have 1 DPS spec, their spot is not as safe as the Warlocks'. Utility wise, they are almost as good as the Warlock, if not better on certain scenarios. However, the utility requires high skill to be used effectively. As an example, life gripping someone to save their life can make you a superstar, but it is much harder to perform than placing healthstones before combat. Lastly, you have 2 great off-healing specs that can come in handy if you're into that sort of thing, especially Discipline. For the number 3 spot, I could in theory continue with a range class, as they are stronger on most scenarios, but I want to show 2 great melee classes as well. Therefore, the number 3 DPS class spot goes to the Rogues. Rogues are the one class that you just always end up taking. I think the last time they weren't that good was on Emerald Nightmare, but that tier was completely broken anyways, so that's normal. With their 3 DPS specs, they usually always end up with a good spec, if not multiple ones. Currently, Assassination seems to be their best spec for single target, and Outlaw for stacked AoE. It is mention-worthy that Outlaw is really preferred in Asia for some reason, even on non-optimal scenarios such as on Jaina. Not sure about the reason, but they really love that spec. In addition to the great DPS Rogues provide, they are also pretty much unkillable with Cheat Death and Cloak and Feint. They can also use these tools to soak certain mechanics, which makes them a good choice for solo and team players. The only disadvantage as a rogue is that they can't compete on spread AoE, which is the weakness of any melee spec, so that's what you have to deal with if you play melee. Lastly and shortly, the number 4 spot goes to the Demon Hunters. Now, let me start with saying they are not that OP, hence why they are the number 4 spot, but let's move on. Since the start of BFA, the spot for 1 Demon Hunter in the raid is pretty much secured due to them bringing the 5% magical damage taken debuff. So unless your team uses a Demon Hunter tank, which is not that great, you will always have 1 Demon Hunter DPS in the raid. In addition to that, they of course bring great DPS and are not that hard to play despite being fun. As a Demon Hunter, you have very good mobility, which is great to have, and Netherwalk as a damage immunity. Aside from that, you bring Darkness as a raid city to the team, which was for example quite good on Jaina. The disadvantage as a Demon Hunter is that a lot of players play it. It might be the most played class. But that also proves that it is really fun to play, so that's okay. Before I finish this video, I want to make sure that everyone understands that this video doesn't mean that other classes are useless and you should avoid them. Skill is still the best stat to have and does matter most, especially in more casual guilds. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. If you agree or disagree with my rankings, I would be excited to see your opinion in the comments below. If you guys don't want to miss future videos, feel free to subscribe as well. Again, this was Scribe, the Raid Leader of Method, and if you want to reach me directly, the easiest way is through my stream. Have a good day.